The story kicks off outside a maximum security prison, with a really heavy atmosphere hanging in the air. This place is Cheongseol Prison, and it's known for housing the country's most dangerous criminals. Inside, a detective is looking into the suspended sentence of a prisoner named Kang Min. Across from her sits the prison warden, stirring his coffee while flashing a ridiculously expensive watch. The two are sitting face to face in a visitation room, and the tension is thick enough to cut with a knife. The warden cracks a wide grin, as if he finds the whole situation incredibly amusing. Detective Chae Si-young notices his accessory and clocks it as a Rolex worth 150 million won. Because of this, she can't help but wonder how a simple prison warden can afford something so luxurious. The man recognizes her as the detective from the National Investigation Headquarters and quickly offers her a hot drink, but she refuses the offer and cuts right to the chase, demanding he bring out Kang Min immediately. An awkward silence fills the room as the two of them stare each other down for a moment. The warden breaks the silence by checking the time and saying the young man's sentence will be suspended at 2 in the afternoon. Cha Si-young replies dryly that there are still 30 minutes until then. With a smile on his face, the man confirms that they still have a little time to spare. The detective just gives him a sharp look, making it clear she won't back down from his pressure. With a serious expression, the warden addresses the woman by her professional title, detective. From there, he leans across the table and asks if she has any idea what kind of person Kang Min truly is. The man then reveals the reason for his question, telling her that the prisoner took the lives of 10 people. Hearing this, Chae Si-young is startled and spills coffee on her clothes while he questions her about letting someone like that walk free. The dark stain stands out on her white coat, showing just how tense the situation suddenly became. Noticing her reaction, the warden asks if she has some personal reason for holding such a grudge against the inmate. Faced with the detective's silence, the man starts to laugh mockingly, and he just can't stop. He then asks if she doesn't remember the massacre that went down at the Hagang faction headquarters years ago. Right after, he explains that was Kang Min's Great Massacre, where 10 people met their end and many others were injured. Changing scenes, we see a henchman asking his boss if they really need weapons for just one guy. He doubts the man even knows how to fight anymore after spending 10 long years locked up in solitary. Meanwhile, the two men continue sharpening their knives in a dark room as the boss watches over them. The boss cracks a dark smile and says that only someone who's never faced Kang Min would say something so dumb. To prove his point, he grabs the henchman's hand and presses it against the sharp blade without hesitation. With a crazed look in his eyes, he claims that he himself is living proof of the danger that prisoner represents. With an insane glare, the boss asks if the henchman knows how he got the scar over his eye. He then yells at the kid, who's trembling with fear and unable to answer the question. From there, the man turns and says he's going to tell a fun story from the old days. He begins by explaining that the Hagang faction was led by a top boss and his 8 guardians. However, 10 years ago, 6 of the guardians rebelled and took out the leader and his family. Despite being incredibly strong, the man was surrounded by the traitors who had taken his family hostage. His pregnant wife and young son were at knife point, and he couldn't fight back. Faced with the situation, the man begged them to spare his family's lives. He also asked them not to tell a person named Min anything about what was happening. But the traitors showed no mercy and went after the boss without a second thought. Overwhelmed by the pain and betrayal, the man let out a scream of pure agony. One of the traitors, named Yuhan Sang, was crying as he attacked him, as this was a habit of his. He got ticked off that the boss had mentioned Kang Min's name, and it made him sick with rage. With that, he continued to attack the man relentlessly, unleashing all his frustration. The blade sinks deep into the leader's body, who has no chance to defend himself from the assault. The man is dragged across the ground without the slightest chance of fighting back. He collapses onto the lawn, and a huge pool of blood begins to form around him. One of the traitors looks up at the sky and cries, mourning the passing of his former boss. But with his last bit of strength, the man begs Han Sang to spare his wife and nephew. The traitor clenches his fist tightly and completely ignores the dying man's last request. He says goodbye to his former leader, and in the next moment, the ground is stained completely red. The violence of the blow is so intense that blood splatters all over the lawn. From there, the new faction boss just stands there, watching the body of the man he betrayed. In his last breath, the man manages to whisper Min's name before he passes. His wife and son scream in despair as they witness the terrible scene right in front of them. One of the henchmen then asks the new leader what they should do with the woman and child. The man just looks at the wound on his chest and doesn't answer his subordinate's question. A moment later, he complains, saying they didn't need hostages since the boss was already finished. Suddenly, the mother and son's screams of terror are heard echoing from a distance, With the dirty work done, the new boss turns and walks away, leaving a trail of destruction behind him. The new boss smiles sinisterly and comments on the beautiful weather, as if nothing happened. The rebellion of the 6 guardians seemed to have succeeded, but the youngest of them was still missing, our MC. When he returned from his trip, our MC found the bodies of his loyal comrades. From that moment on, an aura of pure fury and vengeance consumed the now alone Kang Min. He grinds his teeth with so much force it looks like they might shatter at any moment. With that, he lets out a cry of anguish, because the boss was like a father to our MC. It was the old leader who found him on the streets, all alone, and decided to raise him like a son. The man extended a hand to the boy and promised he would never go hungry again. Because of this, the young man accepted the offer and went with the man who would change his life forever. The boss's family became Kang Min's own family, and he finally found a home. He would devour his food so eagerly that the couple worried about how much he must have starved. The leader would even joke with the boy, telling him he'd choke if he kept eating like that. That's why our MC's rage was immense. But the question that remains is why the rebellion started. The reason was that the boss forbade illegal activities, but the guardians were profiting from them behind his back. When they thought they were about to be discovered, the traitors decided to act first and seize power. With a heart full of hatred, our MC finds one of his men on the ground, surrounded by enemies. With a cold expression, he demands to know where the guardians who betrayed them all are. From there, he explodes with rage and screams at the top of his lungs, searching for the traitors. In response, a group of henchmen rushes to attack Kang Min all at once. But our MC doesn't flinch and grabs the first one who gets close by the hair. Right after, he lands a solid punch to the henchman's face, giving him no chance to react. The blow sends the man flying, while another attempts a sneak attack from behind. Our MC easily dodges the knife stab, leaving the enemy completely stunned. Without missing a beat, Kang Min counters with a precise kick to his opponent's leg. On impact, the man's leg snaps instantly, and he collapses to the ground, reeling in pain. The henchman is terrified when he sees our MC's deadly gaze turning towards him. Kang Min readies his fist without a hint of mercy, ready to finish this enemy off. He then unleashes a powerful punch that finishes the goon once and for all. After a while, our MC has already defeated several enemies, and the ground is littered with bodies. Finally, he faces the remaining few and asks menacingly what they're waiting for. With a look of pure hatred, our MC screams that he's going to take them all down and challenges them to a fight. In the midst of the chaos, one of the stronger henchmen appears to face Kang Min head-on. This guy is Yong Ju, and he reveals that he was also present during that brutal battle. He remembers seeing our MC standing amidst a pile of bodies and wondered if he was even human. With a hand trembling in fear, he grips his weapon, preparing for what was to come. Desperate, Yong Ju curses Kang Min with all his might and dares him to fight. From there, he charges full force at our MC, yelling for him to just drop. To his surprise, he manages to land a blow, sinking his knife right into Kang Min's stomach. Even wounded, our MC holds him tight, and the henchman can't understand what's happening. He looks at Kang Min's body and wonders if the bastard is finally done for. Relieved, he brags about having captured the feared Yaksha all by himself. However, he realizes he forgot one small detail in that moment of desperation. Suddenly, our MC, who seemed to be finished, grabs him by the face with surreal strength. With a scream of pain, Yong Ju's eye gets crushed by Kang Min's hand without any mercy. Our MC then questions him about who captured whom, showing the fight was far from over. With a brutal move, our MC rips out Yong Ju's eye with his bare hands. The man recounts that this was exactly how his left eye ended up going flying. On the ground, he writhes in pain as his eyeball rests in a pool of blood. Kang Min turns and walks away coldly, leaving the henchman agonizing behind him. After slaughtering the organization's members, he went after the 6 guardians to complete his revenge. The traitors are gathered, and one of them questions if they really need 6 of them to take on one kid. Just then, a shoe steps onto the first stair, signaling that someone has arrived. Yuhan Sang's face fills with terror as he points to the eyes of the approaching person. Kang Min starts to climb the stairs, and the traitor curses that hate-filled gaze. Our MC's eyes glow red as he stares down the enemies at the top. Yuhan Sang screams desperately for them to take the bastard out before he reaches the top of the stairs. At the command, several men jump from the sides to try and stop Kang Min's advance. Our MC remains unfazed and faces the new opponents with a cold look. Without wasting a moment, he attacks the first enemy with the handle of a knife, straight to the face. Immediately after, he strikes another henchman, giving him no chance to defend himself. With a powerful kick, our MC sends another enemy flying through the air without difficulty. The impact of the blow is so strong that the sound reverberates throughout the entire mansion. At that moment, a muscular giant appears behind Kang Min with a menacing look. The big guy grabs our MC with enormous strength and bares his teeth in rage. He squeezes him with so much force it looks like he's going to completely crush the boy's body. With a yell, the man says he's going to shatter Kang Min's spine right then and there. The pressure on our MC's back is immense, and his bones begin to crackle. Due to the unbearable pain, Kang Min lets out a scream of pure agony. Even in pain, his gaze remains firm, and he shows no sign of giving up. In a swift counterattack, our MC manages to grab the enemy's head. From there, he bites the giant's face with impressive ferocity. The man screams desperately, begging for Kang Min to just be done with it. Our MC doesn't stop and shoves his fingers into the big guy's neck with full force. The blow lands squarely in the opponent's eye, blinding him instantly. With that, the giant finally collapses to the floor, and Kang Min continues his way up the stairs. At the top of the stairs, Yuhan Sang is frozen in fear and calls our MC a maniac. The floor is covered in bodies, and it's clear the Guardians forgot one important detail. They thought they were as strong as Kang Min, but the truth was far different from what they imagined. In reality, our MC was far superior, and now he faces the traitor with pure hatred. The man flashes a demonic smile, his eyes glowing red, and doesn't seem intimidated. But he quickly turns and runs up the stairs, desperately asking for a timeout. He even tries to negotiate, suggesting they resolve the whole situation by talking it out. It only took a single step for our MC to catch up to the traitor and twist his neck. With that move, the history of the Hagang faction was drastically changed forever. If the police hadn't shot Kang Min in the back, things might have been different. In the end, our MC was sentenced to life in prison and took the fall for the others. Yuhan Sang bribed the guards to keep him in solitary for 10 years to break him. Yang Jae-wook asks his men how the boss feels about Kang Min's release. One henchman doubts that just 3 of them will be enough and suggests calling for more backup. With a sinister smile, the man replies that too many spoilers ruin the movie. Yang Jae-wook tells his men to stop complaining and just wait while he polishes a shoe. With a psychotic look, he licks a knife and promises that today he'll finally get his revenge. Just then, the cell door opens, and a guard yells for the 3 of them to get out immediately. At this, the man cracks a sinister smile as his big moment is approaching. Meanwhile, in the solitary confinement hallway of Cheongseol prison, the atmosphere is incredibly tense. Inside a cell, someone is standing, and drops of sweat drip relentlessly onto the floor. We see it's our MC doing handstand push-ups, showing off an incredible physique. A guard then arrives at the door and informs prisoner 1689 that it's time for exercise. But outside, the corrections officers are trembling with fear, and their chief tells them to back away. Right after, he asks if the idiots want to announce to everyone that they're scared of Kang Min. The door opens and our MC steps out, leaving the other prisoners terrified. One of the inmates freezes and asks his boss what they should do now. The leader of that group of prisoners is completely shocked by what he's seeing. He can't believe that this scrawny guy is the same man he's heard so much about. From there, Kang Min and his new followers start walking down the corridor with confidence. With this, the henchmen ready their makeshift shanks to attack all at once. An army of inmates surrounds our MC, who stands alone before the gate. One of the men mocks Kang Min, saying a stiff breeze would knock him over, and that they brought way too many people. But Yang Jae-wook just stares at him in silence, knowing that underestimating this man is a mistake. After all, this was the first time in 10 years that our MC was coming out for exercise. With a sharp gaze, Kang Min understands perfectly what's happening here. From there, the prisoners charge forward, screaming at our MC without hesitation. Flashing back 3 days, the prison warden is in the basement of the Hagang building. In front of him, Yuhan Sang explains that the problem is Kang Min's release on a suspended sentence. The warden panics, and the boss says this is something he needs to solve himself. He then threatens him, saying his head will roll if Kang Min walks out of that prison alive. Yuhan Sang extends a hand to the warden and tells him not to be afraid, just to take it. Right after, he yells for someone to bring a certain object over to them. Suddenly, the warden's hand goes flying, and he screams in pain from the wound. But it was all just a delusion. The warden was in a cold sweat, imagining the scene. The man offers his Rolex as a down payment and promises 100 times its value to get rid of Kang Min. Back in the present, the warden justifies his actions, saying he can't accept the release of a criminal. Detective Chae Si-young looks at him and realizes there's something very suspicious about this whole story. She wonders what the warden is so afraid of, as he seems to be terrified of something. The man is sweating profusely and repeats that it's unacceptable to release someone like Kang Min into society. Chae Si-young points out that it's almost 2 o'clock and demands he bring the prisoner out right now. The warden smiles and says that's fine, because he's already sent someone to bring our MC. From there, he stands up and invites the woman to watch the whole situation on a screen. With her arms crossed, The detective just watches the man walk away suspiciously. But when she sees the image on the monitor, her face fills with astonishment at the scene that appears. On the security camera screen, she sees our MC surrounded by inmates and panics. Yang Jae-wook curses Kang Min and says a guy about to meet his end shouldn't act so high and mighty. One of the henchmen charges, but our MC grabs his wrist with incredible speed. With his arm twisted, the man lets out a cry of pain, unable to break free from the grip. Right after, Kang Min snaps the enemy's neck with a quick, final move. Another henchman curses the bastard and rushes in for a sneak attack from behind. But our MC dodges with ease and lands a punch straight to his face. The blow is so fast that the enemy doesn't even have time to see what actually hit him. He then uses his elbow to finish off the henchman without the slightest bit of mercy. Standing over the bodies, Kang Min asks the remaining men if they happen to fight with their mouths. He insists they answer, and the henchmen, completely stunned, call him a maniac. They're frozen with fear, unable to understand what this madman is doing here. With a sinister smile, our MC asks if they're not coming and offers to go to them. Yang Jae-wook yells at the idiots to do their job and earn their money already. Our MC smiles and says that now the fight is getting good, and he beckons them to combat. One of the inmates grabs his makeshift weapon and charges at Kang Min with everything he's got. But our MC is faster and lands a punch right on his opponent's face. Yang Jae-wook grabs one of his own men and asks if he's nice and warm now. With a cruel look, he plunges the knife into his own man without hesitating for a second. The blade goes through the henchman's body, and our MC launches the knife at another target. With the man on the ground, our MC tells him he's about to warm up a little. He then stomps down hard on the henchman, who lets out a scream of pure agony from the blow. Seeing this, the other inmates are terrified, and one of them screams to finish the scumbag. But our MC is quick and lands a solid punch to another enemy's face, knocking him down. Right after, he uses the knife to strike another opponent who has no time to react. With a look full of fury, he grips the makeshift weapon firmly, ready for the next one. Without missing a beat, he grabs another henchman from behind, completely immobilizing him. From there, the young man delivers a powerful punch that lands squarely on the inmate's face. With the blow, the man falls to the ground, and a pool of blood begins to form beside him. Terrified, one of the men curses Kang Min, calling him a psycho as he prepares to attack with a knife. The sound of something heavy falling echoes across the prison yard, startling everyone there. Our MC then declares that he's come to collect a 10-year-old debt from the traitors. Suddenly, a man with white hair knocks him down and asks who he is and if he knows him from somewhere. The man's hand tightly grips a blood-stained knife, showing the situation is serious. The attacker then looks down and asks why he should know a loser like him. The white-haired man screams in pain on the ground, surrounded by unconscious bodies. With his shoes soaked in blood, our MC walks on, leaving a trail behind him. He moves forward with a sinister gaze, his eyes shining with anger and determination. In the security room, the warden panics and orders them to call the security team fast. Cha-si-young watches everything on the monitor and wonders where he's going after all that. The warden is screaming into the phone while the detective stares at him, surprised by his over-the-top reaction. Suddenly, Kang Min bursts into the room, and the warden realizes he was heading there all along. Completely terrified, the man pulls out a gun and curses our MC, calling him a bastard. He yells that Kang Min is the problem, and that everyone would be at peace if he just disappeared. But our MC isn't fazed and tells the man to stop whining in front of him. From there, he orders the warden to escort him out of this place immediately. At this, the man gets desperate and pulls the trigger, screaming for him to be done with it. However, Kang Min is much faster and dodges the shot, landing a punch on his opponent. The blow connects squarely with the warden's face, who winces in pain from the impact. The man goes flying from the force of the punch, and his gun falls to the floor with him. The warden groans in pain on the ground as Cha-si-young watches the scene, completely shocked. Lying on the floor, the man trembles, unable to get up after taking the young man's punch. Our MC prepares to stomp on the warden's head and finish the job for good. Seeing this, Cha-si-young screams desperately for him to stop, thinking he's going to take him out. From there, she draws her weapon and reinforces the order, saying not to finish anyone off in here. Our MC stops what he's doing and remains silent for a tense moment. With a cold gaze, he turns to the woman and asks who she is and if Han-sang sent her. Cha-si-young is taken aback by his question but keeps her gun pointed at him. At that moment, the clock on the wall strikes exactly 2 in the afternoon, and time is up. With time up, the detective charges at Kang Min without hesitation. She calls him by his name and says that by the decision of the Seoul Prosecutor General, something has changed. The document in her hand states that from this moment on, his sentence is suspended. Our MC's fist stops inches from the woman's face, startling her. With a surprised look, he asks if she's saying she's letting him out of this place. Changing scenes, we see a white car driving down an empty road at night. Inside the car, our MC is breathing heavily and looks badly injured next to the detective. With blood-stained hands, he grips his own arm tightly, showing that he's in pain. The woman looks at him with a very serious expression, worried about his condition. Because of this, she suggests going to a hospital, but our MC tells her to stop at an animal hospital instead. Cha Si-young doesn't understand why, and he explains that they'll both be taken out if they go to a normal place. The detective grips the steering wheel and thinks about how dangerous he is, and why someone like him was released. Suddenly, the woman yells for him to hold on tight, leaving our MC quite surprised. Right after, a truck slams right into their car in a violent and unexpected impact. Due to the force of the crash, the car is thrown into the air, flipping over several times. Inside the overturned vehicle, our MC yells at her to pull herself together if she wants to stay alive. The wrecked car is surrounded by several black vehicles and men in suits, showing it was an ambush. He asks if she's alive, and the woman confirms, wondering why he's saving her. With the wrecked car smoking, our MC tries to climb out of the wreckage. His bloody hand rests on the asphalt as he lets out a groan of pain from his injuries. As he gets up, he faces the enemies and says he'd be disappointed if there wasn't a welcome party. Our MC plants his feet on the ground, his shoes stained with blood, ready for whatever comes next. From there, the men in suits charge at him, yelling in his direction. But our MC just smiles and says that since they're here, the party has to be spectacular. With that, he rushes forward with impressive speed towards the first enemy he sees. He finds himself surrounded, but the saying that numbers always win doesn't seem to apply here. Even though it's tough to fight against 3 or more opponents, our MC shows no fear. Because of this, he knows that when facing multiple enemies at once, rhythm is the most important thing. One of the henchmen curses him, but our MC just glares at him with a demonic look on his face. Without wasting time, he lands a powerful kick on the man, who lets out a scream of pain from the blow. The henchman falls to the ground in agony as our MC calmly walks towards the next target. He then grabs another by the head with a sinister smile on his face, ready to strike. Right after, he finishes him, because to win, you have to take out 1 or 2 right at the start of the fight. With this show of force, he manages to plant fear in the hearts of all his enemies. The henchmen are terrified, and even though they outnumber him, they feel as if he's the only one fighting. Our MC then asks if they're not coming, because the illusion of fear is the key to victory. He then asks if he should go to them, because when several hesitate in front of one, the fight becomes easy. One of the henchmen gets angry and charges, yelling that our MC can just take them out one by one. But Kang Min is faster and lands a solid punch to the chin of the approaching man. Because of the distraction, another henchman manages to hit him in the back with an iron pipe. Even wounded, our MC turns and grabs the enemy's weapon with impressive strength. With that, he uses the pipe itself to hit the henchman in the face, who lets out a scream of pain. The man falls to the ground completely defeated, and the other henchmen don't know what to do. Our MC doesn't waste time and prepares to stomp on another enemy lying on the asphalt. With several bodies on the ground, the men scream in pain as Kang Min stands over them. With a furious look, he asks what's wrong, and if he should go to them again this time. Suddenly, a new figure appears and tells those useless parasites to get out of the way. This guy is the Ashura, Yong Ju, and he threatens the men, saying they'll be done for if they call themselves gangsters. Right after, the 2 men's fists collide in a powerful head-on clash. The impact of the blow is so strong that our MC is thrown backward with no chance to defend himself. Lying on the ground, Yong Ju glares at him and says he's gotten really weak after all this time. Yong Ju grabs him by the hair and asks if maybe it's actually he who has gotten much stronger. With that, he throws him far away with all his might and curses him as a useless bastard without any pity. Our MC hits the asphalt hard, which gets stained with blood from the violent scene. On his knees, the young man trembles in pain and lets out a groan because of all his injuries. Even staggering and with great difficulty, he tries to get up to continue fighting the enemy. At that moment, he sees Cha Si-young lying on the ground and seems to worry about her for an instant. A henchman shouts that he's running away, but Yong Ju doubts he would flee from an enemy. Suddenly, the detective grabs Kang Min's leg with the little strength she has left. Desperate, she begs him to take her with him, as she doesn't want to be left behind alone. Our MC stops for a moment and looks back without showing any expression on his face. From there, he says that what's about to happen is a slaughterhouse with no good or evil, no friend or foe. With a cold look, he warns her that this is no place for a coward like her to get involved. Because of this, he tells her to run, because if she steps into this, there's no getting out. Angrily, the woman curses him as a scumbag as he walks away, leaving her behind on the ground. Cha Si-young then draws her gun and yells for him to stop, or she'll shoot without hesitation. But with his back turned, our MC states with absolute certainty that she won't shoot him. Chae Si-young trembles with the gun in her hand and curses him as he continues to walk away without looking back. Through the sights of her pistol, she watches him get further and further away, unable to find the courage to pull the trigger. Just then, a man jumps from the top of a truck and curses him as he charges forward to attack with everything he's got. The henchman tries to hit him with a knife in a swift move, but our MC is alert. He blocks the attack with his hand and delivers a powerful punch to the opponent's face, who is shocked. Yong Ju taunts him, asking if he's running away and where the great Yaksha from before went. Without answering, the young man starts the truck, and the tire spins hard on the asphalt, ready to take off. With that, he floors it towards Yong Ju, who screams and calls him a maniac. The truck smashes into the cars, throwing them aside and clearing a path through the chaos on the road. At the wheel, our MC lets out an insane laugh while causing all that destruction. Yong Ju and his men watch the vehicle disappear further and further into the horizon. With a look of pure hatred, he says that Kang Min should only meet his end at his hands, and no one else's. Changing scenes, we see the National Investigation Headquarters in a huge, imposing building. Inside, Director Min Sung-hoon orders the suspension of the sentence to be revoked and a warrant to be issued. Chae Si-young says that's impossible, and the director explains that the Hagang faction has grown too powerful. He tells her that Yu Han Sang is very cunning and has laundered a lot of money into politics over the last 10 years. Because of this, the police can't control them, and the woman understands that he released Kang Min for this purpose. With a cold look, Min Sung-hoon says you fight fire with fire and poison with more poison. The detective sits in silence, completely shocked by the revelation of the director's plan. From there, she lifts her face and asks why he's telling her all of this. The man lists her qualities: top of her class at the university and excellent evaluations for 3 years. But he also says she's poor and an orphan, and that no one would miss her if she were gone. With a malicious smile, he concludes that she is the perfect disposable tool for the mission. Right after, the director asks if she's offended and states that's just how the truth works. Her mission is to tame Kang Min and turn him into a hunting dog that obeys every command. In return, Min Sung-hoon offers to be her protector and promises to pass on his position to her in the future. The woman remembers our MC's words about the slaughterhouse that was to come. With a smile on his face, the director looks at her and asks if she's interested in his proposal. Chae Si-young lifts her head with a determined look and begins to give the man her answer. Changing scenes, we see the Hagang faction headquarters, which is a huge modern building. Shortly after, several police cars arrive at the location with their sirens blaring. One of the cars screeches to a halt in front of the building, and the door flies open. From inside, Chae Si-young gets out, shouting orders for the assault team to go in first. With the command given, the police officers start running towards the building's entrance. The detective runs alongside her men, leading the raid with great determination. But suddenly, the woman stops running, surprised by something she sees in front of her. One of her colleagues also stops and wonders what the heck is going on here. Their path is blocked by several men in suits who appear to be from the faction. With their way blocked, the detective becomes furious and grinds her teeth in pure rage. From there, she shows a warrant and asks if our MC is inside the building. Without receiving an answer, she yells and asks if the henchman didn't hear her. The man in the suit just stares at her in silence, showing no reaction. At this, she gets irritated and asks if they think the police are idiots or something. But right after, the detective tells her men to stand down and not waste their energy. Chae Si-young realizes from their reception that our MC hasn't arrived at the location yet. Her colleague highly doubts that Kang Min will actually show up for the fight. The woman thinks that the moment he steps into the building, the place will turn into a death trap. With a worried look, she remembers a conversation she had an hour earlier. In the flashback, she assures the director that she will turn our MC into a hunting dog. With a wide smile, Min Sung-hoon approves of the detective's determined attitude. From there, he orders the teams to move out, as Kang Min will go straight for Yu Han Sang. The man explains that there are over 1,000 members of the organization gathered in the Hagang building. Particularly on the bridge leading to the boss's room, security is heavily reinforced. That place is guarded by masters from the Triad and is called the Bridge of Laments. Because of this, he wonders how our MC plans to invade that fortress. Inside a dark room, the 6 traitors are gathered, waiting for his arrival. Yu Han Sang seems very nervous and wonders if that bastard will really show up. But another traitor says he will come, because he'd sell his soul for a chance to end them all. Yu Han Sang cracks a sinister smile and seems to be looking forward to this reunion. Yu Han Sang smiles cynically and asks if everyone there is feeling anxious. The other traitors glare at him with tense, angry expressions at the question. One of them retorts that the boss is the one who's anxious and says they've been preparing for this for 10 years. Yong Ju questions why he let the Yaksha escape if he was so confident. With great anger, the man replies that he didn't expect our MC to turn his back and run. He clenches his fist tightly and swears he'll break that bastard's spine next time. After all, the Yaksha and they are mortal enemies who can't breathe under the same sky. Changing scenes, we go to the bustling streets of Daram, Dong in Seoul at night. Inside a place, someone warns a man named Tae Sik not to move at all. His hand is tied down, and an axe hangs over it as the warning is repeated. Tae Sik screams desperately, asking Lee Chun-jil why he's doing this to him. The man with the axe questions if he didn't order him to raise the tribute from 10 to 30%. Lee Chun-jil grabs him angrily and says he knows he's been exploiting his own countrymen. Suddenly, a voice at the door asks if they happen to be busy at the moment. We see it's our MC, standing at the entrance with a very imposing and serious posture. Upon seeing the newcomer, Tae Sik is completely terrified and stammers out the name Yaksha. Lee Chun-jil wants to know what Kang Min is doing there, and our MC answers sarcastically. From there, our MC sits down in the chair as if he owns the place, terrifying Tae Sik. With a smile, he tells the two to continue what they were doing without minding his presence. Desperate, Tae Sik tries to warn Lee Chun-jil about the danger, but the man doesn't seem to care. He insists that Lee Chun-jil do nothing, because this guy is someone he can't handle. Our MC then addresses Lee Chun-jil with a very direct and provocative question. He wants to know if the man knows the difference between a dog that only barks and one that actually bites. His eyes glow red as he stares at the man with a demonic and frightening smile. Faced with that gaze, Lee Chun-jil is terrified and realizes the situation is much more serious than he imagined. Inside the room, the tension is palpable as our MC stares down the men without moving. Our MC's red gaze meets Lee Chun-gil's terrified eyes, who trembles with fear. Angrily, the man charges with the axe and yells that our MC must be crazy to want to go down. But Kang Min dodges the blow and lands a powerful punch to the opponent's face, shattering his axe. From the impact of the punch, Lee Chun-gil falls to the ground completely knocked out, with no chance to fight back. Lee Chun-gil hits the floor, screaming that he's gonna bite our MC until he tears him to pieces. But Kang Min simply picks up a sharp piece of the broken axe from the floor. With a sinister smile on his face, he finishes the man without showing an ounce of pity. Changing scenes, a man in sunglasses answers his phone with a simple, "hello." However, he's completely shocked by the information he just received on the call. The man approaches Yoo-han, saying and whispers that the National Investigation Team has left. The boss is startled, and the henchman explains that since the police are gone, the Yaksha won't show up. Because of this, the other traitors get up, saying they came for nothing and are leaving. However, one of the men stops suddenly in his tracks and doesn't continue walking with the others. He turns to Yoo-han, saying and advises him not to pull this kind of stunt again. The boss doesn't understand, and the traitor complains about being summoned without accurate information. He continues, explaining that people might think they are just the boss's lackeys. Faced with this insubordination, Yoo-han grinds his teeth in anger but manages to control himself for a moment. With a forced smile, he says it's alright and that he'll be more careful next time. The traitor smiles, satisfied with the answer, and thanks his boss for the consideration. The door closes with a thud, and the traitors finally leave the place. Alone in the room, Yoo-han gets angry and curses under his breath because of the disrespect he received. He explodes with rage and grinds his teeth as he calls those bastards traitors. Meanwhile, at a police station, an officer is shocked to learn what our MC did. With a confident smile, our MC says the investigation headquarters will be coming to get him soon. One of the officers calls him crazy and doubts that the investigation would come to release a criminal. Suddenly, Chassi Young bursts into the place with her team and asks where Kang Min is. Upon seeing the young man, she walks towards him with a very serious expression on her face. With a smile, our MC greets her and says she arrived faster than he expected. Angrily, the woman draws her gun and curses him as a scumbag without a second thought. From there, she points the gun at his head and yells, asking if he thinks she's an idiot. But our MC isn't fazed by the threat, and stares back at her with a very cold look. Outside, the atmosphere becomes tense as the situation unfolds inside the police station. A while later, the three are sitting in a room, and the atmosphere between them is very heavy. Our MC turns to Tae Sik and says he'll need to use his office for a while. With a dark look, our MC asks if Tae Sik has any problem with the request. Terrified, Sik stammers and says it's nothing like that as the young man glares at him with red eyes. Chassi Young observes the scene and thinks that the man is completely bewildered by the situation. The woman then questions him about what he's going to do now that the Guardians know where he is. But our MC just gives a slight smile as if he has everything under control. Because of this, she gets irritated and asks if he thinks he's so smart for doing that. He just taps his own head with his finger and tells the woman to be careful what she says. With a malicious smile, he warns her that her cleverness is going to get her taken out one day. The detective is furious with the warning and grinds her teeth in pure rage at his comment. Tae-sik then explains that Daram-dong is like an island controlled by Korean Chinese gangsters. He continues, saying that those men don't fear tomorrow and fight for their territory with their lives. That's why the faction never conquered the place, and he survived there after being kicked out for being the Yaksha's right-hand man. Given the explanation, he asks if she now understands why the Guardians don't attack the neighborhood. With a smile, our MC says he'll explain why it's so difficult for the Guardians to unite. He reveals that the faction divided Seoul into 7 districts, and each Guardian is the lord of their own region. From there he asks if she thinks Yong Ju would ask for help to protect his territory. Cha Si-young gets the point, and says the man would rather have his head torn off than do something like that. With his eyes glowing, our MC reveals his plan to take down the Guardians one by one. At the revelation, a tense silence fills the room as the other two process the information. The detective rubs her face and says it's fine because she finally understands his plan. But she states that he can't do it all alone, and that she will add the power of the police to the equation. In return, she demands that Kang Min cooperate, and the main rule is that he can't finish anyone off. With a smirk, he provokes her and asks if acting all high and mighty makes her feel special. The woman doesn't understand and questions if he thinks she's going to be scared by that provocation. With a demonic smile, he tells her to read the room before she goes around testing people like that. Faced with the threat, Cha Si-young becomes completely furious, and her face contorts with pure rage. She warns him that if he treats her like an idiot one more time, she'll take him out herself right there. Suddenly, our MC yells Tae-sik's name to create a quick distraction. With that, he lands a kick on the woman, and her gun goes flying through the air. In the reflection of her eye, we see the young man catching the pistol in mid-air before it hits the ground. The gun falls to the floor with a metallic clatter and slides across the room. Our MC then grabs Cha Si-young by the neck with surreal strength and lifts her off the ground. With a dark look, he warns her that if she ever pointed a gun at him again, she'd be done for. Suddenly, Kang Min lets out a groan of pain, and his body begins to tremble uncontrollably. He stumbles backward and falls against the wall, taking the detective down with him. Terrified, the woman asks what's happening as he leans on her with difficulty. Desperately, she yells for Kang Min to snap out of it and come to his senses as quickly as possible. A flashback takes us to the Haegang faction headquarters 10 years in the past. During the night, the old leader calls for Min and our MC responds yes to his older brother. The young man asks if something is worrying the boss, who is looking at the sky with a serious expression. With the reflection of the moon in his eye, the man begins a hypothetical question for the young man. He asks him what he would do if, by chance, there was a traitor among his brothers. The leader asks if they should punish one to warn 100, or if they should end their lives. Our MC remains silent for a moment, thinking about his boss's heavy question. With a smile, he says that they may not share blood, but they are brothers, closer than any other. Because of this, he asks how they could ever take each other's lives like that. The young man believes that if the boss forgives them, they will surely regret it and come back home. Moved by his words, the leader grabs our MC by the shoulders with a serious look. From there, he praises the young man and says that the youngest is more generous than his older brother. The man also says that he has grown a lot and has become a great man for the faction. Our MC breaks into a wide smile, seemingly happy with the praise he received from his leader. Back in the present, our MC wakes up startled and breathless from that memory. Cha Si-young and Tae-sik are frightened by his reaction and stare at him, not understanding anything. Our MC's eyes turn white, and he seems to be completely out of his mind. The woman also grabs him and yells for the Yaksha to snap out of that trance immediately. With a weak voice, she says she called an underground doctor to stitch up his wound. Suddenly, he grabs her hand tightly, and the woman lets out a cry of pain from the grip. The detective begins to stitch his wound with a needle, trembling with fear of the situation. Now recovered, our MC turns to Tae-sik and informs him that Jo Song Guang is here. He explains that this guy is the gang leader and a fighter who fled from the triad. With a smile and red eyes, our MC says that Lee Chun-jil is not fit to be a boss. From there, he tells the two of them to stay put, as they would only get in the way of what's to come. Cha Si-young is worried and asks if he's going to fight even though he's all injured like that. But Tae-sik stops her and warns that it's better not to provoke Kang Min when he gets that look in his eyes. The detective remains silent and just watches him with a very concerned expression on her face. Outside, an army of henchmen gathers in front of the building, waiting for orders. Their leader is Jo Song Guang, a muscular man with a very intimidating and strong appearance. One of the henchmen with a bandaged hand is trembling, and he asks if the man is sure Kang Min is in there. The henchman confirms with absolute certainty, and the boss seems to ponder the situation for a moment. With great anger, he yells at his men and orders them to drag him out of there. At the command, the henchmen charge into the building, holding their weapons. He repeats the order with even more fury, so his men won't hesitate to attack the target. The sound of footsteps echoes through the place as the crowd rushes to obey the boss's command. But at the top of the stairs, the silhouette of our MC appears, blocking everyone's path. Two henchmen curse him and yell that this place is no joke as they rush to attack him. With a sinister smile, our MC says the timing is perfect because he was about to go crazy. One of the men gets angry at his words and charges, yelling that he's going to rip his mouth off. But the henchman barely has time to react and takes a solid blow right to the face. From there, Kang Min descends the stairs and takes down several enemies without difficulty. Because of this, the other henchmen are terrified by the young man's absurd strength. Faced with the situation, Jo Song Guang yells at his men to all go down together right there. A short while later, our MC's shoes are covered in blood, standing over a body. With a dark look and glowing eyes, he faces the enemies who are still standing. Outside, two other men wait nervously while holding their cleavers. At that moment, they spot a sinister figure approaching with a red trail behind it. Jo Song Guang threatens his men and says that whoever retreats will have their neck broken. At the command, the henchmen tremble with fear but grip their weapons tighter. And so, they charge forward yelling that since it's all or nothing, they'll fight for real. Our MC dodges the first attack and prepares his counter attack with cold precision. Right after, he lands a powerful punch right on the face of another enemy who falls. From there, the brawl breaks loose, and our MC dishes out punches in every direction. Even in the midst of chaos, the young man maintains a focused look, ready for the next attack. At this, one of the henchmen grabs a cleaver and prepares to attack with everything he's got. With a cry of pain, our MC is hit square by his opponent's blow. The henchman is furious and wonders how he's still standing after taking that hit. The cleaver blade is embedded deep in our MC's shoulder, but he doesn't retreat a single step. Because of the pain, he lets out a desperate scream as he faces the enemy in front of him. The sound of his agonized scream echoes through the place, and blood splatters everywhere in the scene. With that, the other henchmen are completely terrified by what they are witnessing. But with a sinister smile, our MC questions if the scumbags have lost their minds. Because of this, the men yell that they'll all go down together and charge at him without hesitation. One of them approaches with his face contorted in rage as he prepares his next blow. Kang Min says that's the spirit and lands a solid punch to the enemy's face. With a bleeding nose, he yells for the bastards to keep coming at him. And so, the rest of the henchmen charge forward, screaming, ready to continue the fight with him. In great pain, our MC pulls out a baseball bat that was stuck in his body. But right after, he is surrounded and attacked by several henchmen at once with no chance to defend himself. With a face full of rage, he grinds his teeth and looks like he's about to explode at any moment. The men continue to beat him relentlessly, and the young man screams in pain from the blows he receives. Even while taking a severe beating, he stomps his foot hard on the ground, showing he won't give up the fight. Facing the fallen enemies, our MC smiles and says the fight is getting good this way. With a bloodthirsty look, he warns that if the henchmen really want to go down, he can help. From there, he yells that he'll grant their wish, his eyes glowing red with hatred. He then charges forward and starts taking down several enemies in a sequence of brutal blows. With a demonic smile on his face, he shows that he's enjoying every second of the chaos. Watching from a distance, Jo Song Guang considers joining the fight, but his henchman suggests waiting a bit. Suddenly, our MC glares at him and asks if the scumbag is blind or something. Jo Song Guang clenches his fist and realizes that this maniac is only going to get crazier over time. The boss compares him to a bloodthirsty butcher, and understands that the situation is getting out of control. Because of this, he decides they need to take down Kang Min right now, before it's too late. At that moment, our MC turns his head, feeling Jo Song Guang's presence approaching. Almost instantly, the boss lands a solid punch to our MC's face without warning. With a smile, he tells the young man to stop messing with his men and fight him for real. From there, the two begin to trade punches in a serious and very balanced fight. Our MC realizes that the boss's movements are fast and precise, worthy of a leader. Due to a strong blow, he is pushed back and almost loses his balance in the process. With his body covered in wounds, Kang Min grinds his teeth in pain but remains standing in the fight. He understands that if he gets hit by one more of those powerful punches, the fight could end right there. Jo Song Guang gives him no break and lands another punch squarely on our MC's face. Even feeling the impact, our MC shows incredible resilience and takes the hit. Next, the boss lands another precise blow right to Kang Min's stomach without any mercy. Despite everything, our MC doesn't give up and warns that he's going to finish him once and for all. He attacks with a punch, but Jo Song Guang manages to counter-attack at the same time, hitting the young man. The boss is surprised, as he didn't expect the maniac to fight back in this situation. Even with a bruised face, Kang Min lets out a groan and shows that he's still in the fight. With his face disfigured by the punch, our MC lets out a pained groan from the blow. He thinks that this scumbag fights in a way that's eerily similar to his own, like he's fighting a copy. The boss has quick movements and a punching power that seems simply destructive in a fight. On top of that, he can predict the next moves just by looking into our MC's eyes. Because of this, the fight feels like it's happening against a mirror, given how similar the two are. Seizing an opening, Jo Song Guang lands another solid punch to Kang Min's stomach. With the impact, the young man's wounds begin to open up, and the damage accumulates more and more. Our MC knows that the longer the fight lasts, the worse it will be for him, so he needs to end it quickly. And so, he gathers all the strength he has left and charges at his opponent with everything he's got. The goal now is to finish the fight as quickly as possible before he passes out for good. With a powerful uppercut, he declares that he's going to settle this fight once and for all. Meanwhile outside, Chasey Young is so nervous she can barely breathe. Completely shocked by the scene, she wonders if those two monsters are even human. But Tae-sik corrects her and says that he's not a human, but a demon known as Yaksha. Right after, he reveals that our MC was the youngest of the faction's 8 guardians, but he concludes that the young man was the fiercest of them all, as he lands a devastating blow on the boss. With the impact of the punch, Jo Song Guang stumbles backward and almost hits the ground for good. The silhouettes of the two fighters stand out against the light, and one of them is about to collapse. Without wasting a moment, our MC lands another right hook with all his might on his enemy. Because of this, Jo Song Guang can't take it anymore, and his knees give out completely from the blows. With his opponent on the ground, our MC stands tall, showing who's the boss around here. But suddenly, he takes a surprise punch right in the middle of his bruised chest, and is startled. Jo Song Guang, even all beaten up, says he can't go down yet because the fight isn't over. With great difficulty, the man tries to get up, supporting himself on our MC's body. From there, a flashback takes us to 5 years in the past, in the city of Yanji, China. There, we see a man running and warning that the triad caught Jo Song Guang's brother for theft. Upon hearing the news, Jo Song Guang is completely shocked and furious about the whole situation. Desperate, he runs through the streets, screaming his brother Song Chiel's name. When he arrives, he finds his relative hanging upside down, surrounded by enemies. One of the triad members taunts him, saying that the Korean, Chinese value family a lot. Even hanging upside down, Song Kiel tells his older brother to get out of there. But Jo Song Guang walks towards the triad members without showing any apparent fear. Right after, he kneels on the ground and screams desperately that he was wrong to do it. At this, the triad boss scoffs at the young man and questions why he is begging for mercy. He grabs Jo Song Guang's face and reminds him that he's supposed to be the biggest gangster in town. Because of that, the man says he needs to show something to prove his true worth. With a malicious smile, the boss shows him a sharp object and challenges him to do something about it. From there, Jo Song Guang sticks the weapon into the boss and asks if that's enough for him. With the blow, the man falls to the ground and curses the scumbag as a maniac while agonizing in pain. Jo Song Guang just looks down on him with a cold gaze, showing no reaction. Suddenly, another triad member lands a solid punch to Jo Song Guang's face. Angrily, the man yells that he's finished and charges at him with everything he has. But Jo Song Guang just glares at him with a determined and hate-filled look in his eyes. Right after, another henchman attacks him with a powerful punch right in the middle of his face. Even while being beaten, he clenches his fist tightly and shows he won't give up this fight. From there, the man continues to take a beating and gets hit with a solid punch directly to the chin. With another blow, he is hit in the neck and lets out a cry of pain from the hard hit. Blood gushes from his wounds, and the situation becomes increasingly desperate for him. With a cruel look, one of the henchmen asks if he's enjoying the show. Jo Song Guang grinds his teeth in pure rage but can't react to the enemy's attacks. Right after, he is grabbed from behind and immobilized with no chance of escape. One of the men calls him a coward and advances with a knife to finish the job for good. But in a last-ditch effort, Jo Song Guang takes out his final opponent once and for all. With the path clear, he runs to cut the rope and free his hanging brother. The blade slices through the rope with ease, cutting it in a quick and precise motion. From there, he holds Song Kiel's body and yells for the young man not to give up on life. With his last strength, the brother asks him to go to Korea because there'll always be outsiders here. Desperate Jo Song Guang yells at him not to say that and to stay awake. The young man then asks him to live for his sake too, before his arm falls lifelessly. With tears in his eyes, Jo Song Guang yells for Song Keel to open his eyes, but it's too late. With his face contorted in pain, Jo Song Guang grinds his teeth and weeps for the loss of his brother. From there, he hugs Song Keel's body and lets out a scream of pure agony that fills the place. The triad henchmen call him a maniac and wonder how they're going to take down this scumbag. With tears streaming down his face, he holds his brother's body, unable to believe what happened. At that moment, he carefully lays Song Keel on the ground and asks the young man to wait a little. With that, the man turns around with a look full of hatred, ready to begin his revenge. Without wasting time, he lands a solid punch to the face of one of the approaching enemies. Right after, another henchman advances from behind and yells for him to be done with it. But Jo Song Guang is faster and finishes the henchman without showing a single shred of pity. The man falls to the ground completely defeated and lets out a final groan of pain before passing out. The last enemy tries to beg for his life, but Jo Song Guang glares at him menacingly. With his eyes red with rage, the man lets out a guttural scream of pure fury and immense pain. A dark silhouette shows that from that day on, he transformed into a true monster. Back in the present, the boss cries tears of blood as he screams in hatred, remembering his past. With his brother's memory in mind, he stomps his foot hard on the ground, ready to continue the fight. On his knees, Jo Song Guang faces our MC, who is standing and panting. With a smile, our MC praises the boss for managing to dodge his last attack. The man spits on the ground and glares at the young man with a look full of hatred and determination. From there, Kang Min gets excited and says that now they're going to fight with full force for real. Jo Song Guang grinds his teeth in anger and prepares not to underestimate his opponent. But our MC throws him to the ground with a powerful blow, showing he's not messing around. With the impact of the fall, the young man lets out a groan of pain and feels his wounds open up. Even injured, Jo Song Guang gets up and shouts his name as if it were a war cry. Right after, he brags about having fought against 100 members of the triad alone in the past. With that, the boss begins to deliver a sequence of punches, yelling for the maniac to just go down. The blows land squarely on our MC's body, who just takes the hits. Exhausted, Jo Song Guang asks if he's tired of getting beaten up like that. But our MC smiles and says that now it's his turn to take some hits in the fight. Without wasting time, he lands a powerful punch to the boss's face, who is startled by the force. Because of the blow, Jo Song Guang goes flying and falls to the ground, completely defeated. With his hand covered in blood, our MC grabs Jo Song Guang's face tightly. From there, he slams the man's head on the ground with a devastating final impact. The boss's face is completely disfigured, and he grinds his teeth in pain and humiliation. With a sinister smile, our MC holds him by the head, showing his dominance. Faced with the situation, Jo Song Guang admits with a weak voice that he lost the fight. In his last request, he begs the young man to let his men go in peace. But our MC gets furious and complains that he had finally warmed up for the fight. Insanely, he demands that they fight for another 10 rounds while the others watch. The detective is shocked and calls him a maniac, not believing what she's hearing. Our MC just lets out a loud, sinister laugh, enjoying everyone's despair. Realizing he has no choice, Jo Song Guang slowly begins to bow on the ground. From there, the boss kneels and swears to serve him as his new master and DGO. Seeing this, the other henchmen follow their leader and bow, calling him Hudagio. Changing scenes, we see the Hagen capital headquarters in a huge, imposing building. Inside, one of the traitors asks if the Yaksha hasn't shown up for his revenge yet. A henchman reports that his men are spread out, but no one has seen our MC yet. At this, Yong Ju clenches his fist in anger and wonders why the scumbag is taking so long. From there, he calls for his manager, Han Jun, who bows as a sign of respect to the boss. With his eyes glowing, he states that our MC will come after him first and orders them to find him. At the command, Han Jun remains silent for a moment and seems to hesitate to obey. And so, he begins to ask a question with all due respect to his direct superior. The henchman wants to know why the director is so sure that he will be the Yaksha's first target. Yong Ju cracks a sinister smile and reveals that it all happened 10 years ago. He then confesses that he was the one responsible for breaking the old boss's left arm. Because of this, the leader was easily defeated by Yu Han Sang, and our MC knows this. Han Jun understands the situation and promises he will find the Yaksha no matter what. From there, the boss points to a piece of wood, and the henchman says it's the hardest in the world. With a smile, the man confirms that it's ebony from Africa and seems very proud of it. He explains that they say the wood is harder than steel and then grabs it tightly. To prove his strength, he smashes the piece of ebony right over his own head without hesitation. Angrily, he says that our MC is just like him and grinds his teeth in pure fury. From there, the man hugs the pillar and regrets not having broken his spine in the past. With great force, he breaks the wooden pillar with his back, showing his surreal strength. At that moment, he screams Kang Min's name with all the hatred he feels in his heart. A red aura envelops his body, and his eyes glow with a demonic light. Han Jun is terrified by the scene and wonders how a human being can do that. The boss then orders them to bring another piece of ebony, twice as thick as that one. With bruised hands, he wonders how long our MC will hide. With a malicious smile, Yong Ju tells the Yaksha not to keep him waiting for too long. Changing scenes, our MC and his new allies walk through the central market of Daram. Taesik offers to prepare food, but our MC refuses and says he can't stand the smell. Chassis Young suggests going to a convenience store, and the young man accepts the idea immediately. Our MC then informs Jo Song Guang that they will be eating separately today. Inside the store, he is amazed by the variety of products and praises the place. With a smile on his face, he grabs several items and comments on how good the world has become these days. Our MC eats with gusto and complains that if he had known how good it was, he wouldn't have wasted so much time. Because of this, the detective asks him if it's his first time in a place like this. He cracks a smile and continues eating his instant noodles with great enjoyment and satisfaction. Kang Min confirms that it's his first time in 10 years, and the woman apologizes for her comment. But the young man says there's no reason to apologize and continues eating with even more enthusiasm. He is impressed with the flavor of the broth, and Chassis Young watches him in silence for a moment. From there, she asks how he managed to survive for 10 long years locked in solitary confinement. Our MC then drinks all the broth from the cup and lets out a loud burp without a care in the world. With a smirk, he reveals that he didn't actually survive all that time. Looking out the window, the young man says that he simply gave up on everything and everyone in there. The detective is completely shocked by his revelation and stares at him, not knowing what to say. With that, she says that now she understands the extent of his grudge and his enormous thirst for revenge. Our MC provokes her and asks if she can really understand what he went through. Right after, he comments that people always say that time heals all wounds. But with his eyes glowing red, he says that some wounds do indeed disappear. But he adds that other wounds only become clearer with the passage of time. Because of this, our MC grinds his teeth and states that's why he can't stop. The detective gets a worried look, as she understands the depth of his hatred. From there, she says she knows our MC is strong because she's seen it with her own eyes, but she warns him that he can't face the entire Hagang faction completely alone. And so, the woman offers the help of the police in his quest for revenge, but he reveals that his body couldn't handle the 10 years in solitary and is now broken down. With a smile, he says he can't even use half of his strength and tells her not to judge him. Changing scenes, we see the lone counter of Hagang Capital at one of its branches. There, a bald man with a strange tattoo asks for 300 million, but is only offered 30. The employee explains that without collateral, it's impossible to lend more than that amount. At this, the man places an envelope on the table and asks if that could serve as collateral. He explains that it's a rental agreement and that the 100 million deposit can serve as a base. With that, the woman's attitude changes, and she says that with that collateral, 30 million is possible. The man is overjoyed with the news and thanks the employee over and over again. Suddenly, someone grabs the contract from her hand to take a look at the document. The woman is startled and sees that it's Han Jun, standing there with a mask covering part of his face. He reads the contract and notices that the property's address is in the Daram, Dong neighborhood, but the client corrects him and says the correct address is Guro 5, Dong with a nervous smile. Han Jun explains that the problem is that the address is on the border between the two neighborhoods. He then asks the man what he thinks that has to do with his loan. With a sinister smile, Han Jun wants to know how he managed to get such a large deposit. At the question, the client starts to break into a cold sweat and is completely speechless. The man gets nervous and doesn't know what to say to the henchman who is looking at him suspiciously. With trembling hands, he takes off his gloves and shows that he had a recent work accident. He explains that with the compensation, he was able to rent a 2-room place to live. Han Jun questions him about what he plans to do with the 30 million from the loan. The client then reveals that his mother back in Yanji is very sick and needs surgery. With a choked voice, he regrets not having brought his mother to Korea much sooner. From there, the man starts to cry and breaks down on the table, completely desperate about the situation. Faced with the sad story, Han Jun seems to ponder the man's situation for a moment. From there, he tells the manager to verify the documents and proceed with the loan. With a demonic smile, the client reveals that it was all just a well-planned scam. Back at Hagang Capital, Han Jun is asked if he thinks Lee Chun-jil deceived him. Angrily, he explains that the problem was that the man took out several loans at the same time. The manager gets a slap and explains that the records from other companies only show up in the system a day later. From there, Han Jun understands that the scumbag planned this scam from the very beginning. With hatred, he curses the client and swears he won't let that bastard make a fool of him. Changing scenes, the man celebrates the success of the scam by ordering a huge meal at a restaurant. The owner of the place asks what he's been up to, not having eaten until that time of day. She is surprised to learn that he was trying to get a loan out of the blue. The man just looks at her in silence and seems to remember something that happened earlier. In a flashback, we see our MC telling him to go to Hagen Capital and get 30 million. Back in the present, the man eats with gusto and says the owner doesn't need to know anything. She advises him not to skip meals, and he jokes, asking for some donuts on the house. The restaurant owner then serves a hot soybean paste stew to the man, who starts eating. With a smile on his face, he comments that her stew still tastes the same as always. The young man remembers that the dish tastes exactly like the stew his mother used to make in Yanji, and so, the man continues to devour the meal with great enjoyment, savoring every spoonful of the broth. Suddenly, a figure appears behind him and asks intimidatingly if the food is any good. Completely startled, the scammer turns around and recognizes the manager from Hagen Capital, which terrifies him. Han Jun calmly tells him to finish eating, as their conversation might take a little while. Watching from a distance, our MC thinks that the man must be annoyed for coming to Daram Dong without fear. The scammer puts his spoon down on the table and tells Han Jun that there's no problem between them, but the manager grabs him by the face and tells him to shut up and accept the kindness that was offered. With great anger, Han Jun asks if he knows who they are and if he thinks the faction is a joke. Right after, he throws the hot soup in the man's face, who lets out a scream of pure agony. From there, the manager threatens him and asks if he's going to return the 30 million, or if he wants to lose his other hand. Watching all the commotion, our MC cracks a sinister smile, enjoying the scene. With a dark look, Han Jun is questioned why he's embarrassing himself since he approved the loan himself. Han Jun smiles and says that the scumbag really knows how to get on people's nerves. With that, he slams the man's head on the table, splattering blood everywhere. The manager yells that he hates violence, but idiots like him always show up, begging for a beating. Then, he holds him tightly and asks if he's going to return the 30 million he stole now. In response, the scammer spits blood right in the manager's face, who is shocked by the action. With a smile, he says it was an accident, and the manager glares at him with pure hatred in his eyes. Han Jun becomes completely furious, and his eyes show that his patience has run out. And so, he orders his men to hold him, and the scammer screams for them to let him go. One of his henchmen hands him a huge, sharp knife to resolve the situation right there. Han Jun then asks if he thought it was a game, and if his eyes look like they're joking. From there, he presses the blade against the man's arm, and says he messed with the wrong person. Suddenly, a voice tells him to stop, and a group of men led by Jo Song Guang appears on the scene. Han Jun turns around, surprised, with the knife in his hand and asks who the hell these guys are. The man introduces himself as the scammer's older brother, the famous Jo Song Guang from Daram Dong. Jo Song Guang says to get straight to the point, and wants to know why the Hagen faction is in his neighborhood. Han Jun explains that his brother pulled a scam on Hagen Capital and demands the money back. And so, he warns Jo Song Guang that he doesn't want to start a war with the faction. But the boss smiles and says it seems like the Hagen faction is the one that doesn't mind starting a war. Because of this, he demands 70 million to pretend nothing happened, and Han Jun is completely confused. The boss explains that they owe 100 million in damages and that after subtracting the 30 million, 70 still remains. Han Jun is outraged and asks what will happen if they refuse to pay the debt. With a sidelong glance, Jo Song Guang asks what happens when men can't settle things with words. From there, he clenches his fists and says that in those cases, they settle things with their fists. On the street, Han Jun boasts and reveals that he was once the Korean middleweight boxing champion. With that, he says he's not someone street thugs can handle and suggests a deal. But the boss scoffs at his words and asks why he's talking so much. Angrily, Han Jun tells him to pay up and disappear if he doesn't want to get beaten up in front of his men. And so, he charges forward and says that if the boss is so eager to dig his own grave, he won't stop him. Jo Song Guang retaliates and yells that it's actually Han Jun who will end up in a coffin in the end. But the manager easily dodges the punch and yells that his blow was too slow to hit him. With that, he lands a solid punch right to Jo Song Guang's face, who wasn't expecting it. The boss grinds his teeth in pain from the force of the unexpected, precise blow. But the boss fights back, and Han Jun repeats that he's too slow to land a punch on him. Because of this, Jo Song Guang charges in with another punch, even stronger than the last. At this, Han Jun becomes furious and curses the scumbag, preparing for a counter-attack. From there, he begins to deliver a sequence of brutal punches to his opponent without stopping. The boss's face is hit squarely, and he lets out a cry of pain from the devastating blow. The punch is so strong that his body is thrown backward from the impact of the violent hit. Even while taking a severe beating, the boss grinds his teeth and holds firm against the manager's sequence of blows. With that, Han Jun grabs him by the jacket, giving him no chance to escape. But the boss prepares to fight back and warns that now it's his turn to take a real beating. With a smile, he asks who is the one with the big mouth, just to provoke his opponent. Right after, Jo Song Guang lands a powerful punch that sends Han Jun flying across the street. The boss then says that the manager is nothing but trash and continues to attack him with everything he has. Angrily, Han Jun screams desperately for the idiot to land at least one clean hit on him. Watching the fight from the window, Cha Si-young and Tae Sik comment that the situation doesn't look good at all. Tae Sik then turns and suggests that our MC should join the fight to help his ally. But the young man tells the woman that what she sees isn't everything, leaving her completely confused. With a smile, he explains that even he was shocked by Jo Song Guang's killing intent. Because of this, he states that this guy isn't someone who will go down so easily in a fight. Even all bruised up, Jo Song Guang tells the manager to stop talking and just stay on the ground. Han Jun continues to hit the boss, who endures the blows without retreating, showing his resilience. The manager is furious and wonders what the heck this scumbag is doing that he won't go down. Angrily, he yells for the boss to back off, but the man continues to take the beating without giving an inch. Suddenly, Jo Song Guang bites down hard on Han Jun's hand, who lets out a scream of pain from the attack. From there, the boss lets out a roar of pure fury as he tightens his bite on his hand even more. With his face covered in blood, he challenges him and yells for the scumbag to come at him. With his hand trapped, Han Jun screams in pain and can't break free from his opponent's grip. The boss's roar of fury echoes through the place as he refuses to let go of the manager's hand. With an insane look, Jo Song Guang glares at him and yells for the scumbag to come and fight. Blood from Han Jun's hand starts to drip onto the ground as he panics about the situation. With his face contorted in rage, he calls Jo Song Guang a coward for using such a low blow. But the boss seizes the opportunity and lands a solid headbutt to the manager's face without hesitation. Because of the blow, Han Jun stumbles backward and clutches his head, feeling immense pain. Jo Song Guang says that fighting isn't about looking cool and lands another punch to the manager's face. With a bloodied face, he explains that their way is to keep biting relentlessly in a fight. From there, the boss screams with fury that the fight will only end when one of them is gone. Back in the room, the detective says the fight is already settled, but our MC disagrees. With a cold look, our MC reveals his true plan and says that he needs him to feel pain. Faced with such coldness, Cha Si-young is completely shocked and doesn't understand his cruelty. Our MC adds that he wants a pain that reaches Han Jun's very bones. With a smile, he says the bait has been cast, and the woman quickly understands that the big fish is Yong Ju. From there, our MC asks the detective to cover for him, and she becomes very suspicious of the request. His plan is to drag Yong Ju into the net called Darim Dong and trap him for good. When his men come for the rescue, the police will move in and block everyone's path. Cha Si-young gets irritated and asks if he thinks the national investigation is here to clean up his mess. With that, she pokes him and says that she's actually the one cleaning up the mess they created. Our MC provokes her and asks what she means by that, leaving the woman speechless. Suddenly, Tae Sik bursts into the room and tries to kick the young man out, but ends up being thrown to the ground. Our MC grabs him by the shirt, and the man lets out a scream of terror from the force of the grip. With a threatening look, he lifts him off the ground without any difficulty and glares at him with hatred. From there, the young man threatens him and says that if he or the woman open their mouths again, it's over. His eyes glow red, and he warns that he'll wipe them both from existence if they annoy him any further. Faced with the threat, the detective finally gives in and agrees to provide cover for his plan. But she turns and says she has one condition, and our MC wants to know what the catch is this time. With a serious look, she demands that he doesn't end anyone's life, no matter what. The two of them stare at each other in silence in the room, and the tension in the air becomes increasingly heavy. With a sinister smile, our MC finally accepts the detective's deal without hesitation. Meanwhile, Han Jun begs for his life with his face crushed against his cell phone screen. On the phone, he yells that they said they would take him out if the money didn't arrive soon. Hearing the phone, Yong Ju explodes with rage and curses the scumbags for the call. With the terrified henchman, he wants to know how much the guys from Darim Dong are asking for ransom. The man reveals that it's 70 million for the manager and 30 for the others, for a total of 100 million. One of the section chiefs suggests they wipe out Darim Dong once and for all without paying anything. But another curses him and says that if they suffer losses, the other guardians will take advantage of the situation. On top of all that, the Yaksha is now also in their sights, complicating the situation even more. One of the men ponders that there's still no clear sign of who our MC's first target will be. Suddenly, a henchman bursts into the room and informs the director that they have a big problem on their hands. Yong Ju is annoyed by the interruption, but the man stammers, trying to explain what happened. The henchman then reveals that they have finally found the Yaksha, and the boss wants to know where he is. And so, he tells them that our MC is on the first floor of the Yangdongpo Capitol building. Changing scenes, one of the henchmen takes a solid punch to the face with no chance to defend himself. Our MC then looks at the bodies on the floor, showing that he has already cleared the entire first floor by himself. A group of henchmen curses him and yells for everyone to get him and take him down once and for all. With that, the brawl begins, and our MC lands a devastating blow on the first one who approaches. Our MC lands an elbow strike right to another henchman's face without any mercy. Right after, he finishes another enemy with a devastating kick directly to the guy's head without hesitation. The impact of the blow is so strong that the man is sent flying through the air with no chance to react. Without wasting time, our MC attacks another henchman with a violent and very precise knee strike. The man falls to the ground completely knocked out, and a pool of blood begins to form beside him. Facing the last fallen henchman, our MC stands tall, showing that the cleanup is finally over. Suddenly, a powerful voice yells the name Yaksha, and the sound echoes throughout the building's hallway. We see that it's Yong Ju running with his men, and he says he's been waiting for our MC. The boss then runs through a crowd of civilians and relentlessly curses the young man as a scumbag. Because of this, people get scared and run away in terror from all the commotion. Without a second thought, Yong Ju jumps from the building and lands on top of a car in the middle of the street. His henchmen try to stop him and yell that it's too dangerous to do that in the middle of traffic. But the man gets angry and tells the idiots to let him go, because he won't back down from this fight. From there, he yells for the Yaksha and calls him to settle the score right then and there, once and for all. With a look full of hatred, Yong Ju runs at full speed towards his long-time enemy. Yong Ju runs full speed down the middle of the street, not caring about the cars passing by him. Suddenly, a bus brakes sharply right in front of him, completely blocking his path. Faced with the unexpected obstacle, the man stops and stares at the vehicle with an expression of pure rage. The driver curses him as a scumbag and asks if he's desperate to meet his end right there. Because of the confusion, people around wonder what happened, and if there was an accident. With a furious look, he yells that he's going to take down the Yaksha today, and send him straight to prison. And so, he charges forward and lands a solid punch on our MC, who goes flying from the blow. The impact is so strong that the young man is thrown against a wall, which cracks all over from the hit. His henchmen arrive running and are relieved to see that the boss is completely fine. But our MC turns and announces that tonight, they will attack Darim Dong, and the men don't understand. With a furious look, he explains that they need to get rid of the annoyances first, so they don't split their forces. One of his men understands the plan and realizes that the Darim Dong neighborhood will continue to cause problems. Yong Ju asks how many men they can mobilize, and a henchman replies that it's about 200. He then orders them to fill 10 vans and send only 100 men, and the henchman questions if they don't need everyone. With an intense look, the boss asks what they will do if the Yaksha returns and the place is empty. Angrily, Yong Ju turns to his men and calls them pathetic scumbags. Right after, he looks up at the sky, which has suddenly become completely overcast and dark. With a sinister smile, he says that this is the perfect weather to spill some blood. From there, a storm with lightning and thunder begins to fall over the entire city. On the road, we see a sign for the Darim Junction as a convoy of cars passes in the rain. One of the vehicles speeds down the wet road, not caring about the bad weather outside. An overhead view shows several black cars on the highway, all heading in the same direction. Inside the car, Yong Ju stares at the road with a serious and very determined expression. The group finally arrives at the central market of Darim, under the heavy storm that doesn't let up. A foot steps hard into a puddle as someone gets out of one of the convoy's cars. A henchman holds an umbrella for the boss as he calmly lights a cigarette. With the cigarette in his mouth, he gives the first order and tells his men to trash all the shops. Then, he yells for them to find manager Han Jun first and destroys a sign with a punch. His henchmen start to destroy everything and ask where the Korean, Chinese scumbags have gone. Under his umbrella, Yong Ju just watches the chaos begin to spread throughout the market. But as they advance through the wet streets, they realize that all the shops are closed. Faced with the strange silence, they notice that there isn't a single person in the entire market. With the cigarette in his mouth, Yong Ju realizes that something is very wrong with this situation. From there, he turns to his men and orders them all to retreat immediately. He yells that even with the rain, it's not normal for the market to be closed, and that this is a trap. And so, he orders his men to fall back and get into the vans as quickly as possible. The boss yells for them to get out of Daram Dong, and the van's tire squeals on the wet asphalt. But suddenly, a huge truck appears out of nowhere and completely blocks their exit. Terrified, the man turns and realizes that another truck has blocked the other exit as well. Surrounded, his men wonder if they are really the only ones surrounding the place. With his face contorted in hatred, Yong Ju understands that the scumbags knew they were coming. A voice then says that with the rain, they decided to cast a net just in case. And with a smile, the man adds that it seems they caught a bunch of small fish. We see that it's Jo Song Guang with his men, and he says that now it's time to cook up a stew. Right after, the silhouette of our MC emerges from the shadows with a very threatening look. With a sinister smile, Yong Ju asks if they are supposed to be scared. From there, he says he's sorry, but he's not the least bit scared of the situation. His men ready their knives and say the weather is bad, and they need to finish this quickly. At this, Yong Ju charges forward and tells them to go get some hot hangover soup afterward, but our MC's hand appears, and he tells the guys to calm down a bit. With that, he announces that someone else will be taking the Ashura's head, and the henchmen are confused. Our MC then takes a step forward and asks what he thinks about all this. With a smile, he says he will be the one to stop the Ashura's breathing for good. The two leaders face each other from across the street, and the tension in the air becomes very heavy. Yong Ju is shocked and asks why the heck the Yaksha is there at that moment. Suddenly, his eyes widen as he begins to understand what's really happening, and so he accuses him of using the Korean, Chinese to provoke him from the very beginning. Our MC mocks him and says that the bare-brained Ashura has gotten a lot smarter. With great anger, Yong Ju yells that the scumbag dared to stab him in the back. But our MC retorts that the word dare is something the strong say to the weak. Yong Ju provokes him and asks if our MC knows that he's weak as all get out. With great anger, he grinds his teeth and tells the scumbag to stop pretending in front of him. And so, he yells that he already saw what happened when the young man got out of prison that day. The man accuses him of running away because he couldn't face him and challenges him to a fight. Our MC cracks a smile and says that this isn't like him and that he must be scared. From there, he continues the taunt and comments that little Min has finally grown up. With an even bigger smile, our MC replies that he was always bigger than the scumbag. At this, the two groups face off on the rainy street, ready for the great battle to begin. Yong Ju then turns and tells Section Chief Jang to call everyone left in Yangdongpo. With that, he snaps his fingers and says that after taking a little beating, the real fight will begin. Right after, the boss orders his men to advance to combat without hesitating for a second. At the command, the two groups run towards each other, screaming with all their might. Our MC is faster and lands a solid punch right to Yong Ju's face. But the boss retaliates, and the two trade powerful kicks in a very balanced confrontation. From there, the all-out brawl begins, and our MC attacks several enemies at the same time. Our MC's fist moves in a red blur of pure speed and fury. With that, he lands a solid punch to a henchman's face who doesn't even see the blow coming. Right after, another man tries a kick, but our MC returns the favor. From there, the young man blocks a knife attack, and blood splatters everywhere. Without hesitation, our MC uses the blade, and a henchman lets out a cry of pain from the wound. The rain mixes with the blood, and the street turns into a true battlefield between the two groups. Faced with the scene, one of Yong Ju's men yells for them to show them why they're the Hagang faction. On the other side, Joe Song Guang warns that they won't be leaving Daram Dong so easily, and so he lands a powerful punch to an enemy's face, who lets out a cry of pain. With a bleeding nose, the man is completely shocked by the force of the blow he took. At that moment, a foot stumps hard on the wet asphalt, and another henchman joins the fight. With a knife in hand, he yells that they were going too easy on the people from Daram Dong, and so he attacks with a precise blow, and the blade cuts an enemy's face in half. With several bodies on the ground, the fight becomes increasingly brutal and violent for both sides. The trucks continue to block the path, and the heavy rain shows no sign of stopping. With his shoes soaked in blood, our MC steps on the bodies of the fallen enemies. Faced with the scene, Yong Ju explodes with rage and yells the name Yaksha with all the hatred he feels. Our MC doesn't hold back and responds by yelling Ashura with the same fury in his eyes. From there, the two leaders trade powerful punches in a direct confrontation in the middle of the street. With clenched teeth, they glare at each other, showing that this fight is very personal for both of them. Right after, another brutal blow is delivered, and the sound of the impact echoes throughout the place. Because of the pain, our MC spits blood and clutches his head, feeling his wounds.